Imagine your child's smile turning into tears because the neighborhood HOA slapped you with a fine for something as innocent as a lemonade stand. That's where my story begins. A sweet summer afternoon that spiraled into an all-out war against an overbearing HOA. What started as a few cups of lemonade turned into a rebellion that the HOA never saw coming. Stick around because this is the story of how a small act of kindness shook an entire community. Before we dive in, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another unbelievable HOA story like this one. Your support helps us bring you more real-life drama that will leave you hooked till the very end. Chapter 1 begins on a bright summer day when my daughter set up her very first lemonade stand. She had been saving up for weeks to buy her supplies, making posters with colorful markers and preparing her recipe with more care than most adults put into their jobs. Neighbors smiled as they walked by. Cars slowed to buy a cup, and kids gathered around her small wooden table with its hand-painted, fresh lemonade and $1 sign. For her, it wasn't about the money, but about the excitement of running her own little business. But the smiles didn't last long. Within hours, a member of the HOA marched over, clipboard in hand, face twisted with self-importance. They declared the stand a violation of community rules and handed me a warning. I thought it was a joke at first, but the very next day a formal notice arrived in my mailbox. $150 fine for unauthorized commercial activity. I couldn't believe it. My child's small summer dream had turned into an HOA offense. At first I tried to reason with them, explaining that it was just a lemonade stand, but the HOA was relentless. They argued that the stand disturbed the aesthetics of the neighborhood, increased foot traffic, and posed potential liability issues. The absurdity of it all made my blood boil. The sight of my daughter, packing up her stand with teary eyes, broke something inside me. That's when I decided this wasn't just about lemonade anymore. This was about standing up to bullies who had controlled our neighborhood for far too long. Little did I know that decision would ignite something bigger than I ever imagined. Soon after, I started hearing whispers from neighbors who had also been targeted. One was fined for planting the wrong type of flowers. Another was threatened over a basketball hoop in their driveway. A family was warned about their holiday decorations being too excessive. The HOA wasn't just enforcing rules. They were crushing the joy out of our community. I realized we all shared the same frustration, but no one had ever dared to push back. That was about to change. I began quietly reaching out to families, sharing my story and listening to theirs. We weren't just individuals with small complaints anymore. We were a collective voice tired of being silenced. The lemonade stand had become a symbol, and with every story shared, the fire inside me grew stronger. But rebellion against an HOA wasn't going to be easy. They had the rules, the money, and the power. If we were going to stand a chance, we needed a plan, and I was ready to create one. As I lay awake that night scribbling ideas on a notepad, I knew we were about to start something that would shake our neighborhood to its core. The battle lines were being drawn, and the HOA had no idea the storm that was coming. Chapter 2 begins with the first sparks of resistance. Our plan started small but powerful. On the very next Saturday, I organized a neighborhood refreshment day. Instead of one lemonade stand, we set up 10 across the block. Kids sold lemonade, cookies, and iced tea, while parents mingled with folding chairs, creating a cheerful block party atmosphere. Cars stopped, music played, and laughter filled the air. It was everything the HOA claimed they wanted: community spirit, yet everything they despised when it wasn't under their control. By mid-afternoon, HOA board members arrived fuming. They waved their clipboards, snapping photos and warning everyone about pending fines. But this time we weren't afraid. The entire neighborhood stood together. Dozens of families united, and the HOA quickly realized this wasn't just about me or my daughter anymore. They tried intimidation, but their threats lost power against our collective strength. From that day on, the movement grew. Every weekend, neighbors found creative ways to rebel, planting unauthorized flowers in bright, defiant rows, stringing up colorful lights in the middle of summer, parking basketball hoops proudly in driveways. Each act of defiance was small, but together they painted a powerful picture. We were done being controlled. The HOA tried sending letters, increasing fines, even threatening lawsuits, but the rebellion only grew stronger. Social media became our weapon. Videos of our lemonade stands and community gatherings spread online, gaining thousands of views. People across the country cheered us on, sharing their own HOA horror stories. fueling our momentum. What had started as a fine for a lemonade stand had turned into a nationwide conversation about power, freedom, and the right to enjoy your own home. But with every victory, I knew the HOA was plotting their next move, and when it came, it hit harder than I expected. Chapter 3 begins with the HOA striking back. One morning, I found an envelope taped to my front door. Inside was a notice of escalating fines totaling nearly $2,000. They accused me of organizing unauthorized commercial events, inciting noncompliance, and defamation of the HOA. It was clear they weren't just fighting back, they wanted to crush me. Fear crept in for the first time. Could they actually take legal action? Could they put a lien on my home? The pressure was real, but backing down wasn't an option anymore. The neighborhood looked to me for leadership, and I couldn't let them down. I consulted a lawyer who confirmed what I suspected. The HOA was overstepping their authority. They could enforce basic rules, but they had no legal standing to ban lemonade stands or fine us for community gatherings. Armed with that knowledge, we doubled down. We organized a community rights rally in front of the HOA office. Families brought signs, kids handed out free lemonade, and local news outlets arrived to cover the story. Cameras rolled as board members tried to shut us down, but every attempt made them look worse. The tide was turning and the HOA was losing control. The more they pushed, the more ridiculous they looked. Their obsession with rules had turned them into villains in the eyes of everyone watching. But I knew one final move would decide everything. Chapter 4 begins with the ultimate showdown. Our annual HOA board elections were approaching, and for the first time we had the numbers to make real change. Neighbors who had once avoided meetings now showed up with determination in their eyes. Parents, retirees, young couples, all of them ready to vote for a new future. We ran a slate of candidates who believed in fairness, community, and common sense. Election night was tense. The board fought dirty, trying to block voters and delay ballots, but the turnout was overwhelming. When the final count was read, the old regime was voted out and our candidates won by a landslide. The neighborhood erupted in cheers. The rebellion had succeeded. The very next day, we overturned the ridiculous fines, reinstated freedom for families, and passed new rules that encouraged community events instead of punishing them. My daughter set up her lemonade stand again, but this time it wasn't just hers. Dozens of kids lined the street with stands of their own, selling everything from cookies to painted rocks. Parents laughed, music played, and for the first time in years, the neighborhood truly felt alive. The HOA hadn't just been reformed, it had been transformed. And it all started with a little girl's lemonade stand and the refusal to back down against bullies. So, if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment sharing your own crazy HOA experiences. Your support keeps these stories alive, and you never know. Your story might be the next one we tell.